Welcome back, friends and family of the internet and fellow watchers on the wall. Quick question before we dive in today's very deep topic. How many of you have chickens? Or better yet, how many of you know people with chickens? Are their chickens laying as normal? Now, I know we're in December. I know the lack of light, the age of the chicken, all of that has something to do with how many eggs they're laying. But I've got three separate kennels of chickens, three separate chicken huts. My chickens have always laid year round. My chickens lay, even my 4 and 5 year old chickens lay eggs. Nothing for like 2 weeks, no matter how I adjust their proteins or what seeds I'm throwing out for them, they're not laying anything. I even put out security cameras to make sure things weren't harassing them at night. That's not happening either. So I just needed to ask that question. I'd like your response in the comment section. Just tell me where you're at, yes or no. Your chickens are laying or not laying for me. I'm just trying to do a little, reach out and touch someone, see what's going on in your world. Second thing, let me say this loudly and proudly. I want the deportation of all illegal aliens that are in America because, and let me explain it to you, Obamacare was created so that illegal aliens could have insurance. I don't care if you're left or right, don't let the media lie to you. That was what Obamacare was created for. There's also something in Obamacare called a T visa. If you're in America and you claim that you were trafficked here, they'll support you financially with food, job services, medical, housing for as long as you need. They basically cannot deport you if you claim that you were trafficked. So having said that, having did the video that I did last night with my ladies explaining to you why Obamacare was created, the coding changes in Obamacare, and what CPS, Child Protective Services, has been doing since the Clintons on taking children and turning children into a commodity, a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Before I became an educator, I was in social working for the first 3 years of my college life. And I remember sitting in these classes being taught the state law of Louisiana on when we could remove a child and when we could not. If we removed them, how we could sign them up for Social Security, how much people got, blah, blah, blah. And I had so many questions because it seemed like the children who were actually being abused, the burden of proof was tremendous to get those children away from their parents. Yet, kids could be removed for neglect. But I also know the Constitution. I also understand that you can't remove a child just because the parents are poor or possibly, don't have running water inside bathroom facilities. Like that's not necessarily abuse. It's very nuanced. And that's what today's video is going to be around, folks. There's a lot of nuance here. And for some of you, you're not going to be able to handle it, friend. And I really am okay with that. I will pray for you. As a child advocate, I cannot call myself a Christian and know what's happening to children. I don't care if those kids are legal or illegal, Black or white, Hispanic or Vietnamese. They are children. And I am not going to sit here and see what's happening and not say anything. Like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. If that makes you unsubscribe and hate me, then adios, amigos, arrivederci. For the rest of you that want to know the truth, that means we have to get outside of the echo chambers that we have been sitting in for so long. Those same echo chambers that tell us that Tom Holman said the kids could go with their parents, Sam. Really? Because I have proof that maybe something different is happening. So again, this is going to be a really deep conversation. If there are children, please remove them from this conversation. I don't want anybody under the age of 18 in this conversation, we are going to start with what's actually happening in this country. And the first thing that I got to get all the way, let me get back. Hold on, you guys. Let me get, why is this being so? There we are. The first thing we have to talk about is I want y'all to realize how long this has been going on. I'm glad it's finally getting attention. ICE has done this for over a decade. They kidnap the parents and then use the parents' absence to throw the kids into foster care systems and place them with, and she said, white families. Now, since white families are 65 to 70% of the legal families in America, well, that goes without saying it's going to happen. So when we Republicans and Christians see something written like this, it just turns us off. We don't even bother to listen to what the people are saying because immediately she made it a anti-ICE, anti-white sentiment, and that turns people off. We have to stop making this about anything other than it is. It is the kidnapping of children. Excuse me. Let me show you why. This was written October 2nd, 2025. Trump revives family separations amid drive to deport millions, a tactic to punish. So, yeah, we voted Trump in to remove illegal aliens. We can all agree on that. But did we vote Trump in to separate families? Because that's a nuance to the other. And this is where it takes people who understand the Constitution, who are willing to be honest about what's happening to have this conversation. The Trump administration has revived the practice of separating families in order to coerce immigrants and asylum seekers to leave on their own. In other words, look, no worry, we're gonna separate you from your children, and then you're still gonna get deported. In several cases, officials have retaliated against immigrants who challenged their deportation orders by forcefully separating them from their children. The officials misclassify the children as unaccompanied minors and then place them in government run shelters or foster care. You cannot know what has been going on with CPS and government run facilities for the past 30 years, all the abuse that has happened, all the neglect, the fact that it is 6 times more likely that your child is going to die in foster care than if they just stayed with the family you took them from. You cannot know all of that and then type out a comment like, well, it's really the parents' fault. They shouldn't have come here. We need to be focused on American children. They're better off in the foster care system. Folks, listen to what I'm telling you. This is what they're doing. Now, do I know if Trump knows this is what they're doing? I don't know. We all know that it's bureaucrats that run this country. It's these unelected officials, right? These unelected pin pushers who are making laws and then walking them out without oversight from Congress, the Senate, or the president. So, no, I'm not blaming Trump, but I am telling you it is happening. So, let's say you came here under Obama, the Clintons, or Biden, right? Let's just say you did that. They told you that you could stay. Trump has changed a lot of who can stay, who can't. He's revoked a lot of the Venezuelans, ability to stay here. So now they're all on deportation orders. So say that you're going to fight it. You're going to be like, well, no, I've been here for 6 years. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I'm going to go to court and I'm going to fight my deportation order. You get to court and in walks somebody from ICE and they separate you from your children. Then they tag your kids as an unaccompanied minor. They send you back to your country of origin, which I agree, you need to go back. Well, what about the kid? This is not about what you and I like. It's not about what you and I want. This is about what's really happening. You guys wanted truth. I wanted truth. We all agreed on that. We said, look, we're going on a journey of truth. That means no stone unturned. It means that sometimes we're going to find out things that we are absolutely not going to like. Can I get an amen? The new practice has taken effect as the administration has also issued stringent new limits on who can take custody of these unaccompanied minors. Excuse me, which advocates say will keep thousands of children away from their relatives. This tactic is to punish people for not acquiescing. It's a tactic to get immigrants to relent, to agree to self-deport. I get that. On paper, it looks amazing. Like, you want to see people pack up and leave, threaten to take their children, right? But are we Christians or not, guys? I'm a Christian. I'm a Jesus follower above the title of conservative, above the title of Republican, above the color of my skin. This is a child who, because there are new limits on who can take custody of this unaccompanied minor. That's what everybody on my short I did last night, people are, they can stay with their relatives. If the parents are illegal, the chances of them having a legal set of relatives, blood relatives in this country, are almost zero. It's like people just want to listen to Tom Holman tell them everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. And you don't want to look at what's coming out that proves that maybe it's not fine. If you have children who can't speak the language, just say they can't. Some probably can, but say they can't. And they're being housed with people they don't know. Can you imagine how many of these children are going to be neglected, abused, and the trauma that is going to unfold on the backside of this? Not to mention how much in tax dollars is it costing to keep these kids? Because don't we have American children that need help in America? So why would you separate these children unless there's a nefarious reason to do so? The recent separations echo the zero tolerance policy of the first Trump administration, when the U.S. systematically separated more than 5,600 migrant children from their parents and caregivers at the U.S.-Mexico border. Actually, all of those pictures came from Obama. I told you I was going to do this truthfully, and I am. But that means that you have to sit there and like bite your tongue when you want to scream at me that I'm wrong and let me finish my sentence. But 7 years later, hundreds of parents have still been unable to reunite with their kids, guys. The administration lost track of many of the families it tore apart. Through the new separations so far appear less pervasive than the original policy, experts and attorneys said that it could result in another crisis of prolonged permanent separations. I would say that the main difference is just these separations are now happening all over the country as opposed to the border. Family separation is one of several ways in which the U.S. government is increasingly moving migrants around the country, shuffling detainees through a vast, chaotic system that advocates say is intentionally cruel. Now, if you're an adult in my country illegal, I'm not really worried about how many different detention centers you get moved around to and how long it takes to kick you out, because I voted for that. You broke the laws to get here. You came here for free health care, food, and to take jobs from American citizens. Let's just be honest. The immigrants prior to the 1950s that came to America had no social service net. When they got off the boats, it was one of two things. You survived or you did not. There was no food stamps. There was no welfare money. There was no free insurance. You figured it out. And that made some of the best migrants ever. People that came here, settled down, built families, built businesses, built communities. That is not what we're getting now. That's not what we're getting now. We're getting women 8 months pregnant with the sole intent of birthing a welfare baby on the soil of the United States. All right. There were leaked flight records and U.S. government detention data, as well as interviews with immigrants, attorneys, and former officials that revealed that immigrants are increasingly moved without notice away from their families, communities, and legal counsel, leading to apparent violations of constitutional due process rights. Here's the thing. I don't really believe that illegal aliens that broke into my country have a right to the same protections the Constitution guarantees a United States citizen. This is not a global citizenry country. It is the United States. We have a constitution. That does not mean the Constitution allows for you to have the same due process. Now, I know that if they break the law in the sense of murder, rape, they have to go through the same rights for a trial that you and I have. To me, it's nuanced. The Guardian reviewed leaked flight data from Global Crossing Airlines, the charter company that operates the majority of immigration and custom enforcement flights, and found that the vast majority of these trips during the first 3 months of the second Trump administration were between domestic U.S. airports. The airline transported 44,000 immigrants, including 1,000 children, during that time. U.S. detention data revealed that since the inauguration, nearly 2,350 kids under the age of 18, including 36 infants, have been booked into immigration detention centers around the country. What in the heck, you guys? 36 infants? It says that after they were separated from their children, they were moved through several detention centers and were unable to coordinate calls with their kids or even their attorneys. All right, so here's one. A 37-year-old mother who came to the U.S. with her 10-year-old son in April seeking political asylum, returning to China was not an option. They said her lawyers and immigration officers that she had been essayed by multiple high-ranking officials in China. After reporting an assault to the police, Chinese government operatives threatened her with imprisonment. All right. So she basically came to America. According to her sworn declaration, agents told her if she refused to get on a flight back home, the government would take her son away from her. At the airport, the agents tried to drag her toward the terminal. I said I needed a lawyer, but they refused, telling me that nobody would want to help me. Desperate and terrified of what might happen, I dropped to the ground and the officers let me go. Later that day, she said they drove her and her son back to the CBP facility in San Diego, then moved them to Texas. But a month later, she said immigration agents followed through on their threat, took her son away, and placed him in foster care. They've been now separated for 5 months. I don't know. And then you have to think about this. If America wants to stop seeing so many illegal immigrants rushing our border, then we have to get our federal government under control. The CIA must be disbanded. They go from country to country, overthrowing publicly elected officials and destroying the entire industry and economics of countries. And then we wonder why so many people are starving and trying to get into this country, right? Now, this has to do with the 12, this was back in May. Some of you may have seen this. A 12-year-old boy was abandoned on the sidewalk after ICE agents in Massachusetts arrested the adult he was with. They drove off and left him there like he was garbage. Somebody witnessed it and videoed it.
It makes me feel sick to my stomach as a mom, as a human being.
Waltham City Councilor Colleen Bradley MacArthur was on Felton Street recording these videos as it happened.
If we weren't there, I mean, he would have just been left on the sidewalk.
Instead, she says neighborhood watch volunteers walked him home. They patrolled the streets in these pink vests, and they were there that day as ICE agents watched them.
They rolled their windows down and had their cell phones and were recording us and taking pictures of us.
You said at one point a car drove at you?
Yes, I was standing on the sidewalk over in the corner. I could tell what he was doing. He was trying to intimidate me with his car.
When that agent got out of his vehicle, she asked,
Which agency are you with? You need to tell me. It's the law. You're supposed to tell me who you're with. He didn't answer and then turned around and shouted,
You need to stand back and not interfere.
I'm not interfering. I'm observing, and legally I am allowed to.
She says by law, federal agents must identify who they are with, and by state law, local law enforcement cannot assist. She reached out to Waltham police after seeing officers at another ICE incident days later.
They've assured me that they're not taking part.
We reached out to Waltham police but have not heard back.
Now I know the nuance here, right? I know the people that watch me. Happy you are furious. I'm showing this, saying, you know what, Sam, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. My concern is, when does it stop being illegal aliens that they're scooping up off the street? And when does it become us awake Christians who are fearful of the federal government? When do they come after us? And here are the comments. A 12-year-old can find his way home. Geez, they just took his father. Right or wrong, the kid's traumatized. What a staggering show of ignorance and inhumanity. May you have the life you so desperately deserve. No fact-checking or obvious questions asked by this reporter. We have no data about the alleged 12-year-old. If it's true that his parents was arrested, he was 12, we have no info on how ICE handled that since the kid walked home. You see what I'm saying? Shut the F up. It's been widely reported he was escorted home by a volunteer as the brown shirts left him standing along on the sidewalk. Total lie. ICE already responded about this. Prove it. And their faces are covered. Federal agents don't need masks. Actually, yes, Pat Hicks, federal agents do because of the crazy leftists, or at least that's what they've told us. But guys, they're playing the two sides against each other. That this one kind of hurt my heart. This was December 4th. America has no compassion. They don't care. Strip families and kill anyone outside the USA. 6-year-old missing after ICE arrested him and his dad and shipped them off to separate facilities. I pulled the article. This boy is a growing number of children arrested and detained by ICE, according to recently released data obtained by the Deportation DAPA project through a Freedom of Information Act request. Approximately 151 children under the age of 18 have been arrested between January and October, with a sharp increase in May. John, another volunteer, refused to give his full name, accompanied the family to their check-in at 7 a.m. John said he waited for several hours at a nearby cafe, but the father and son never returned. Later that day, the father's name appeared in the ICE detainee locator. John said he's accompanied many families for check-ins over the past several months and has seen many kids being taken by ICE. They just don't come out. Entire families go in and nobody comes out. I have talked to ex-ICE agents. These are the same ICE agents that worked for Biden, the Obamas, and the Clintons, friends and families. They don't change these people out when there's a new president in town. I need you to understand that. The same ICE agents that allowed in drugged children and allowed in whole vehicles full of drugged kids in the back, we've seen the videos, and acted like it was perfectly legal and stopped DNA testing men carrying in babies over their shoulders, drugged up. Those same ICE agents are now these ICE agents under Trump. What if there's a child trafficking ring within ICE that Trump doesn't know about? For the ones of you still here, because I know I've run a ton of people off. I can't sleep at night if I don't ask these questions. People ask me all the time, Sam, how do you get so much done? How do you research so many topics every day and have such just different content constantly because one, I love to learn. Two, I only look at what the Holy Spirit gives me to look at. So if God showed this to me, it's worth asking. This is how I'm able to sleep at night because I know that I have done everything that God has asked me to do. He put it in front of me. I didn't turn away. He showed it to me. I didn't make excuses. He said, Sam, these ICE agents are the exact same ICE agents that were working for the Biden regime, the Obama regime, and the Clinton regime. They're the same agents that have been around the block for the past 20 years. Wouldn't it be likely that they have their own trafficking ring set up that their superiors above them probably don't know about? They don't need to steal a lot of kids. I mean, 151 of them, if they got 10,000 per kid, would bring in a nice haul, wouldn't it? For 7, 8, 9, 10 agents? I'm just asking. This arrest marks the third time Faye and Yaxon were held inside an ICE detention facility since they tried to cross the border seeking asylum in April. They were released October 24th, 2024 for a year-long parole. All right. So the Department of Homeland Security knew they were here, released them for a year of parole. They're showing up for their parole hearings. And it says ICE may also terminate parole on notice prior to the automatic determination date. Parole is entirely within the discretion of ICE and can be terminated at any time for any reason. I have to ask. ICE deported 2-year-old Michaelis Espinoza from her parents, separated, who they were deported to 2 different countries. Did you hear about this?
That ICE is doing.
Because I didn't hear about
we are waiting.
I didn't hear about any of this because I was in an echo chamber. When I heard people sharing this out on Twitter, I thought that they were just left-leaning lunatics and that this was a one-off thing. It's not. By the way, thank you so much, the ones of you who are helping Steve and I be able to afford what's coming next week. I'm not even going to lie. The hotel was over $1,500 for 7 nights. Yeah, with taxes and all. And that is the best deal that I could get. And so for the ones of you rowing in our boat, thank you. Thank you so much. And I do genuinely mean that. If you'd like to row in our boat and receive our monthly newsletter and be invited to the Zooms, we'll probably start back up in January. You can look at the top of comments. Just make sure you add your email, please.
For the acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons, to come here today because we want to talk to him about a case that is enigmatic of the horrors that ICE is doing. And it's the case of Michaelis, a 2-year-old toddler whose mother was deported to Venezuela and whose father was deported to El Salvador. And she was left in the United States and is now in foster care instead of being with her mother, who is advocating and dying to have her toddler back with her in Venezuela. So we want to find out about why they are taking a 2-year-old away from her mother, and we're also trying to find out why ICE is out of control and is taking people off the streets. It's taking people who have green cards. It's taking people who they find out was the wrong person, and they say, oh, we're going to take them anyway. So ICE is out of control, and there used to be a campaign to abolish ICE. We need to start that campaign again. Abolish ICE.
And I already know because I know how people are. First, you tuned her out because she's wearing a Free Palestine shirt. But that does not mean what she said about this 2-year-old child is not true. And it did happen. Parents went one way, dad went to one country, mom to another, and ICE kept this little 2-year-old on the American payroll, friends and family.
Foster children from their foster homes.
I'm scared. I'm scared. Don't let me go. And I have to because the county of LA said I had to.
ICE is now removing undocumented foster children from their foster homes. Removing foster children from their foster homes for deportation. Y'all, I've been working in the foster care system for 28 years. I'm a former foster mom, and I adopted 4 children from foster care and fostered many others. And I have represented hundreds of children who are in foster care. And one thing all of these children have in common is they have all been through trauma to one degree or another. We are taking children who have already been through trauma and removing them from foster homes for deportation. There will be a reckoning for this in this life or the next. For those of you who are supporting this, there will be a reckoning for this in this life or the next.
So let me get this straight. If you had a child trafficking ring and you knew that Americans were beginning to wake up about Obamacare and the Clintons, what they did, and about Pizzagate, if you knew that was what was going on, right? Americans were waking up to what they're doing to the children in our communities, and we were beginning to push back. If you knew that, but you still needed the children, what would you do? Exactly. You would take unaccompanied minor children that nobody knows is here. There's no actual paperwork that is like in a county courthouse, right? Like your child has a social security card. Your child has a birth certificate. Your child has insurance that proves that your child was born somewhere to parents somewhere, correct? Correct. These kids have no paper trail. These kids get brought into America. They get set in with foster care. Then all of a sudden, they're already in foster care. Now all of a sudden, they're coming and taking them out of foster care. Where are they taking them? Where are they taking them? So Tom Holman said that families can be deported together as a solution to separating families when carrying out mass deportations. That was in a 60 Minutes interview a couple of Sundays ago, right? Yet, when he was asked, is there a way to carry out mass deportations without separating families? He said, of course there is. Families can be deported together. Holman led ICE from January 27 to June 2018, overseeing the early stages of Trump's administration's controversial family separation policy, under which immigrants who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border without permission were criminally charged or referred for prosecution. More than 5,000 migrant children were forcibly separated from their families during this time. Okay. Holman defended the policy, arguing he was growing tired of the attacks over family separations. He said families chose to separate themselves by violating the law and entering the country with a child. Again, this is very nuanced because, see, I do agree with that. These adults broke the law. They should be prosecuted. But now these people, some of these people have been in this country for 5 or 6 years, you guys. There's been children born in America to these people. Where do those children go? I have to ask. I'm not saying there's an easy fix. I don't want you to think that. I was actually going to do a really cool video today on cryptids and on something called Crumpus, but I'm going to move that till either tonight or tomorrow because I needed to talk about this. It has bothered me all day. Steve and I got up. We had to run some errands for his work. I had a quick doctor's appointment. And so he picked me up. We just rode together because I don't know. I've pretty much gotten to where I do not leave my home without my husband. I either leave the home with my husband or my German Shepherd, but I don't leave the house without protection. I just don't. I enjoy my husband. He's like my best friend, right? So if I can go with him versus going by myself, I definitely am. But after learning everything that I've learned about medical kidnapping with CPS, especially going to training hospitals, Americans are finding that, because insurance is ridiculous, like nobody can afford it. Some of us are in these weird in between where either the company you work for doesn't offer an insurance that you can actually afford. Most people cannot afford $800 a month for a copay. I mean, for the cost of insurance, not including copays and stuff, right? So you have to go to medical hospitals. You take the appointments when you can. It's all training facilities. So they're always wanting to do weird mess to you. A lot of parents had to bring their kids there and they realize they don't want those treatments for their children. They go home and then CPS shows up on your doorstep. CPS actually leases space in every major hospital in the United States. They have like a closet room where there's a worker available to come right then. I mean, guys, there's not that many kids being abused and neglected that there needs to be a CPS worker located in every major hospital in our country. Before the Clintons passed the money, the bill basically back in the 90s that said that the federal government would fund the removing of children from homes. Very few kids were ever removed from homes. They were watched. The parents were given things they needed to do, but the child wasn't removed unless they were actually being abused. Now, kids get removed if the parents smoke weed, if the parent doesn't want to vaccinate, if the parent wants to homeschool, if the parent chooses to spank. I mean, you can see how this police state is like swallowing us up. I want to see illegals removed from my country, especially the young men and the violent, crazy ones, the gangs. But there's a part of me that says that we could do this better. And could we at least just try to have the conversation like adults? You know what I'm saying? We've gotten so used to turning people off and sitting comfortably in our echo chamber that anybody that pushes a little bit back against what you say or you believe, you become offended, you become angry, you shut them off because it makes the fragile deception you live in vibrate. You know it. I know it. My conversion was as soon as they shot Charlie Kirk. That fast. Sometimes I think what a blessing the assassination of Charlie Kirk was, because I see true awakening. I'm not talking about that false revival of the Seven Mountain Mandate and the mega churches being filled and the Chinese Bibles being bought. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about real Americans, real Australians, real people in England and New Zealand and, all these countries, Canada, that watch me, that are waking up like we went to bed one way and woke up a new creation in Christ. Like it was instantaneous. We knew when they assassinated him that it was so much bigger. And so, because I know that the Lord says in the Bible, like, give thanks all the time. I have to now thank God for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, because without that, I don't know how much longer I would have stayed completely under the MAGA spell. And that's what I call it now. The deception. I voted for Trump. I'd still vote for him over Kamala Harris. There's no doubt. I cannot vote for Kamala Harris. Could not. But I'm now able to listen to people I would not have listened to before. Because now I'm not getting offended. Now I'm not afraid to hear that maybe, just maybe, ICE is stealing children from illegal aliens. I'm not afraid to say it, and I'm not afraid to hear it. And it is freeing because I don't care who gets upset with me. Like, I feel human again because I'm not just spitting out the same platitudes of, well, they shouldn't have come. The parents shouldn't have brought them here. And my high horse. Now I'm like, huh. I mean, if you wanted children that you could do anything with and nobody would say anything because nobody's going to believe the parents, right? And it seems like the only people advocating for these children are on the left. Yet people on the right, we call ourselves Christians. And I told you guys the other day, the god of Moloch is rearing his head up. He's in the Old Testament. He's right here in America. And the child sacrificing is still going on. Huh. Yep. I love you guys. I don't really know what the answer is. And I wouldn't want to be the one that had to come up with an answer to it. But I guarantee you, if I had to come up with an answer to it, I could do it better than it's being done right now. I definitely could do that. Remember that song, Jesus Loves the Little Children? All the children of the world, they are special in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Think about that when you think about those children. Because I kind of have the mindset that the child should not be punished for the parents' sins. Love you guys so much. Thank you for your time.